to the Daybreak, and thank you so much for coming through. So help us understand, what were the outcomes, what was identified?
Yes, thank you so much, and also thank you for having me today. Good morning. So what we did as SustainaBiz Consulting, we saw that there is a need to have a dialogue. Before we can get into action, there has to be a dialogue where we convened stakeholders from different sectors, public, private. We had entrepreneurs, large and small, local and international, to have this conversation together with experts, of course, to see where Botswana is going, or define the green economy and circular economy in Botswana's context, to see what has been done, to see where opportunities lie, to see where the gaps are, and to see what could threaten it, and also to see the type of partnerships that can come out of this, like you aptly said in your introduction. So some of the things that happened there, or Botswana's ambitions, as you put it, is I will say it from the context of what was discussed at the forum. One thing that Mmolotsi aptly said in his welcome remarks was that there is plenty of opportunity, and there is a need for public-private partnerships. That is why he saw the need to come there and show face as government. This is a sign of commitment that Botswana wants to chart a way forward and also lead the conversation. The other thing that happened, as we had many speakers, for example, the lead convener of the conference, Mayor Ndadi, who said that we have to move beyond talking, but move on to strategy as well. And that strategy has to include, of course, educating the right people, or educating the right people has to start from the young age. At the forum, we had young people from as young as 10 years old from the Sesretzakama Memorial School being part of the forum. The other thing that was discussed was the need for exploring our renewable energy potential in Botswana. Wynter from Bawat presented a masterclass beautifully, where he talked about some of the potential that could be tapped, and also talking about how we can add on to the government's ambition of 25% renewable energy use by 2030. The other thing that happened was that we had people from, let's say, water utilities, who talked about some of the water reuse technologies or projects that are coming up. They mentioned Land Valley, for example. We had people from NDB who were talking about the finance side of things. We had people from ESG who were talking about how we can integrate ESG aspect, that will be your environmental, social, and governance, into the green and circular economy. But more than that, what really stood out also, as we are talking about people, when we are going to talk about policies and some of these ambitions, we know that it affects people. It's going to be implemented by people. So Rele Solele in his masterclass said it beautifully when he said that the green and circular economy principles right now don't speak much to the human rights and people aspect of things. And this is where another speaker, Topeame Mabupiwa, interjected that this is why we need ESG, environmental social governance, where the S part of it talks to the people and the communities, the employees, etc.
You keep on saying the green or circular economy in Botswana's context. What is Botswana's context? How do we define it, and what does it mean to us? But also, when we talk the opportunities in this sector, what exactly are we talking about? Because people hear us talking green economy, climate change, and whatnot. Yes. They don't understand how they are supposed to be a part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that you asked that question, actually, because one thing that keeps being repeated in the circles of people who are privy to this, you know how it can become some sort of echo chamber, and we start repeating the same words. But one thing that we keep saying is that Botswana is not new to this. Our culture, our traditions, our way of life are not new to sustainability, are not new to greening, are not new to being conscious of what's happening around you and to your environment and the impact that you're having in your environment.
Just to jump in there,
yes.
You will continue with that thought, but just to jump in there, is there any community anywhere in the world that doesn't live sustainably where it is. It may not live sustainably, effectively enough, but every community, I'm assuming, it would have to they would have to know how they are supposed to be surviving in a particular area.
In their environment, of course. One thing about I love about global communities, especially the native aspect of it, that's why I'll keep saying Botswana context, is that you have an intimate connection to the land that you live in. You know that your ancestors walked that land and you need it to be there by the time you're an ancestor. So that means that when we talk about sustainability, I'm not thinking about me now, I'm thinking about future generations. Yes, I cannot confidently say that there is no nation that is not conscious of what they are doing to the environment. I will not go into wars because that's another conversation, and we know how degrading it can be to environments. So I think I'll put it like that. And then going back to the question, of course, yes. Botswana is not new to this. We just have to define it in terms that our people can understand it and know that they've been doing it, but maybe how they've been doing it has to move with the times. There is a conversation that I had on the corridors with one gentleman from organic fertilizers, and I was telling him, you know, when we talked about organic fertilizers before, I know that I go to the kraal, I go to the where the chickens stay, I go to, you know, and I can just put it in my plants and it's okay, and then they will grow beautifully. But now it doesn't happen that way. And I asked him why. He said it's because those were grass-fed. How our parents and grandparents did it. It was all grass-fed animals. So yes.
That's some information.
It was an amazing concept. And he was telling me about how now there's feed, there's that, and now the droppings are becoming more acidic, and it's affecting the droppings from the animals. So it's gonna affect the manure that's gonna come out of the droppings from the animals. So we are redefining things as we go. And we know that we did that and it was working for us, but maybe we have to change a little bit the way we do it. So that's what I mean basically from Botswana's context.
Right. Do Botswana understand this concept though of the green economy? When you talk to people, are they amenable to it? Or is it just, you know what, you're giving us problems, we've got much bigger things according to us that we need to be focusing on?
Yes. If I move a little bit away from the here into my previous life where I was in the NGO sector and we were doing a lot of community outreach, I would say that they would like to understand it, but they would like to understand it when we talk about it from economic point of view. What am I gaining? Is it going to help me put food on the table? So this is why we did this forum, because the theme of it was surrounding the economic opportunities that are present. Not just economic opportunities for big companies like your, because we are competing, if we go into this, we are competing with billion, trillion dollar companies, like Mr. Hallett said from organic fertilizers. So we have to find ways that work for us now, and then we have to branch regionally into SADC and see how we can take our products or expand our supply chain beyond Botswana. Some of the low-hanging fruits where people can listen to you more intently is, of course, selling the environmental aspect of it, and then, of course, informing them that there are opportunities, for example, in equipment manufacturing, there are opportunities in green technology, there are opportunities in renewable energy, there are opportunities in ecotourism, there are opportunities in, for example, being somebody who's conscious of what's happening in the climate, and then you are doing projects which are benefiting your organizations. There are opportunities there, things that we call green jobs. So when you say it like that, people will listen, because now you're speaking in a language that affects them more than just the environment, of course.
But also how, from the opportunities that I heard you talk about or mention, they seem to be opportunities that may be, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, they seem to be opportunities that people who are educated, maybe people who are already in business would get to understand and appreciate.
Exactly.
What about the old men and old women in the village right now?
Yes, I like how you asked that, because as we are charting a new path, we don't want to be exclusive.
Yeah.
It would be a huge disappointment to leave a lot of other people behind. Like I said, our lead convener for the conference, Mandadi, what she emphasized and stressed is that we have to start the education and vocational training from young. We've explored how maybe it can be in the curriculum, for example, sustainability, so that you can be aware of opportunities beyond our traditional jobs, beyond being a teacher, being a doctor, being this. You are aware from a young age, and you are being trained on it. Also, there was a conversation which was on university, the green sector interaction, where we know that universities have programs specifically for training people who are going to be in this sector, because right now we are importing jobs instead of exporting jobs when it comes to the green economy, importing the equipment instead of exporting the equipment, because we don't have the right expertise yet on that deeper level. And for where we have that expertise, there has been identified silos. We need to work together so that we expand our impact area, and maybe by working together, that's when they can be finances, and they can be programming that speaks to the education, that speaks to capacity building, capacity that is already existing, and also that speaks to how we can develop talent that can go outside.
Right. When we talk about, we always hear issues of financing coming up, and the world seems to be talking the green economy nowadays.
Yeah.
How do people here in Botswana get financing to? Because we've heard of a lot of financing that seems to be bandied around. Is it accessible to them? Are they able to reach it?
That's another thing that we discussed. What we found is that, I'll start local financing before I go outside. What we identified with local financing is that we're talking about a new way of doing things, or new equipment, new product, new ideas, new strategy. So financiers can find it a bit risky. So maybe what we need to start doing is look at the existing financing models, maybe for youth, or maybe some subsidies available, and see how it can incorporate some of the green and circular economy principles, or maybe opportunities. Start locally. And then, of course, include with the training, of course, and the incubation. We have technology incubators, etc. But is there a green aspect of it, where they are helping incubate and let's say technology which are speaking directly to green and circular economy. And then when we move, let's say with international banks, for example, there is banks in Botswana which are accepting of financing green projects. So what we discussed at the conference is that it would be best for teams, or maybe players, to come together to minimize the risk, because we don't know yet how to identify the collateral for these type of opportunities. The other thing that can happen regionally is the SADC bloc can come together, because what I realized in my previous NGO days is that SADC doesn't get a lot of financing, and green finance generally, green finance meaning finance that is financing projects for sustainable projects, if I may put it that way. So we need to come together as the SADC bloc and sort of identify what is our goal, or what is our targets, what are we trying to achieve, and see how we can collaborate on certain projects. They can be cross-country, etc., or regional, so that we can have better access to those financing. And the other thing, of course, is through coming together, we can be able to have a stronger voice in demanding that sort of finance, or maybe pulling in investorship, because we don't want just money for now or for 5 years. We want it to be an investment, and we need it to be long term. So maybe it has to be backed up by policy. The local, national and regional policy has to be conducive enough, and allow, in the standards, and allow for investors to say, you know what, maybe I'll finance renewable energy projects in Botswana, or I'll finance ecotourism in Botswana, for example.
Right. You've convened. What next? What's going to happen after this in 30 seconds?
Yes, we've convened. What's next is policy implementation. As Remolele from Business Botswana aptly said, policy advocacy is not just an NGO thing now, as the private sector and players in this field who are leading the conversation. It's time to push for policy that will allow us to implement some of the instruments, strategies and projects that we were talking about.
Great. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming through, and all the best. Boitumelo Marumo is Business Development and Marketing Executive at SustainaBiz Consulting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, we're going to have to take a quick break. Don't move. I'll be back shortly with your news.
You're the
Thank you.
best interview I've had.
Ma?
You're the best.
From UNFPA side, we know that midwives are the cornerstone of maternal and newborn health, even across the world. We also understand that their expertise ensures that expectant mothers receive care that is safe,